Hi, everybody. I want to make a quick video about some pretty major changes we have made to the buyer and seller portal. Now, if you don't use the buyer and seller portal, you can disregard this. And if you didn't know, A-Frame has two portals. We have a managed agent portal, which is if you're a TC, you can give access to your agents and they can get information on transactions they're a part of. And then, of course, we have a buyer and seller portal, which is geared towards buyers and sellers. And within A-Frame, you can choose which information shows up on each portal individually. Now, the big change that we've made is we've now provided an authentication workflow. In the past, you would provide a link to your buyer and seller. They would click that link, it would bring up the portal immediately with no authentication whatsoever. Now, that's great because it's easy to access. The problem is security. There is confidential information within these transactions. As a trade-off, we used to close the portal once the transaction was closed. But many of you were requesting that the portal be available after the transaction closed, which presented a problem. So we've solved all of those issues by implementing a token system. It's not a username and password. I will get into how that workflow happens in another video, but now I just want to show you what the new changes look like. So let's go ahead and dive in. I'm looking at a transaction detail page here. This is for 4125 Hawthorne, John and Jane Doe, and they happen to be the seller for this transaction. And just like you've always been able to do on the miscellaneous tab for a transaction, you do get the opportunity to look at either the managed agent portal or the buyer and seller portal. Now let's focus on the buyer and seller portal. If I wanted to send them a link, I would do this as I normally would. I would just click on that and it provides them with a link here. Now, these links are different from the old links. However, if a client has an old link, it will redirect to the correct spot. But moving forward, you will start to see these new links if you are so inclined to understand what these are. I will point out that the merge field codes, if you use those, they all work exactly the same as they have in the past. That's the buyer and seller portal link. And of course, your managed agent portal link works the same as well. Okay, so let's go ahead and see what this buyer and seller portal looks like now. When I click on John Doe's name, obviously his portal will come up, so I get to see what he would see. And you'll notice it's changed slightly. If you've used the portal in the past, we've got a little bit more information. You've got the open transactions where John and Jane can see all their open transactions. They happen to have two open at this time, one under option and one under pending. And then I can click into each transaction and view the details. They have upcoming dates, and I could click into either of these if I wanted to get more detail on the date. And then, like I mentioned before, they now have access to closed transactions. So if they wanted to get information on a closed transaction, they could do that there. Let's go ahead and dive into a transaction. I'll kind of show you what's available to you. So we'll click on this Hawthorne property. And if it's under contract, it'll automatically go to the contract tab, but you'll notice there's three tabs here. We've got activities, where they can view all the activities or tasks that you have entered for them. The showing chart shows up if you've entered showings or merged with showing time. Otherwise, this can be, it will either be removed if there's no showings, or you can disable it in the admin area. We've got files, and this works a little better than the other portal. Now you have the ability to check off certain files, and you can download multiple files at once. Or if they want to check everything and zip it for a file archive to, view many years from now, they can do that. And then, of course, they could click on any individual file and grab those. And then last but not least, on this page is the contract tab. They can see the contract start date, the closing date, any other dates that you've chosen to show them. They can see tasks as they're being checked off. Again, these are only tasks that you have chosen to show on the buyer and seller portal, and then participants at the bottom. I will point out over here on the right that we do have branding information. So you can either choose to show the account logo and company name, or you can choose we call it a TC format, which instead of showing the account logo, it ends up showing the primary agent's logo. This works great if you want to share buyer and seller portals with those of agents that that are your clients. For example, you're an independent TC. So for this particular transaction, you'll see that this broker is Burton's logo and Burton's company, and it actually does it per transaction, so that if you're on test this test transaction, you'll know this is Chris Johnson, but his company is different. It's Sotheby's International. So you can set it up to where the primary agent drives the branding. The last thing I'll point out in this video are in the settings. You can either get that up here, or you can, of course, log out if you need to. The settings in this little area, they can set their time zone. They can obviously log out. Something to note on the log out, we talked about the authentication, and I'll get in another video, I'll talk about how the authentication workflow happens for your buyer and seller. But once they complete that process, they're never going to have to log in again. It saves their login on that device. And so the token system is great because it's very easy to access once they do it the first time, which is also pretty easy. But I will point out the calendar feed instructions. So now each buyer or seller has their own calendar feed. And what they can do here is simply come here, whatever device they're using, if they want to integrate with Google or Outlook or iPhone, but they would simply select the device or the platform and then click add to whatever platform or device that they want. Now this will add a calendar to their calendar program. And as you add dates in the future, only the dates that they're involved in will be added automatically. So it's a nice way for your clients to have all the dates in their calendar when they need it. Okay, like I mentioned in a new video or a next video, I will talk about the login workflow, but hopefully these changes will be favorable to many of you. I know you've been asking to see closed transaction data, and I think from a security standpoint, this will be a much better solution for the buyer and seller portal. As always, if you need help, please email us at support@aframesoftware.com. Thanks.